The drug which we are going to study today is one of the greatest polycrust remedy in homeopathy. This is one of the greatest contribution of Dr. Herring in the field of homeopathy. It has got a whole lot of symptoms, we don't know where to start and where to end. I will tell you some important indication of this drug, especially individuals who cannot wear tight dress, person who cannot wear tie, ladies who cannot wear shawl. Females, whenever they are approaching menopause, 42, 43, 45, they have a whole lot of symptoms. They start getting irritability, they'll be talking too much, they have got hot flushes, they get hemorrhoids, they get bleeding. The person who have problems mostly on the left side of the body, left hand, left shoulder, left leg, people who are prone to get bleeding tendency, people who have problem with sunlight, people who have got whole lot of skin complaints. This is in short about the drug which we are going to study today is Lachesis MUTUS.
Dr. C Herring is always remembered for his bold nature for proving this drug. This drug is used highly effective in the management of female complaints, especially during menopausal ailments. It is used in the management of strokes. It has been used in the management of throat affections. It has been used in the management of various mental complaints. Like that, if you speak, there is a lot of symptoms, but I don't know where to start, I don't know where to end. A lot of information from various source books, various repertories, but I will try to gist out, or I'll try to summarize this drug. The drug which we are going to study today is Lachesis. It is called as Lachesis mutus, full form MUTUS, Lachesis mutus. It is belong to the natural order of Ophidia group. It is commonly called as Surucucu snake. It is also called as Trigonocephalus lachesis. The why they call Trigonocephalus because the head has got a triangular shape. It's a highly poisonous snake. It is called Surucucu because this particular snake is found in large numbers in a place called Surucucu, which is there in Brazil. This snake, Lachesis, is a tropical snake that lives in the jungles of Central and South America. It can grow up to a 12 feet length. It is a huge, you can Google it and see, you can see in a YouTube videos. It's such a big snake, highly poisonous snake. It's called as a bushmaster snake. Its fangs can grow as long as 1 inch. You can see the image in the slide. The fangs are so lengthy fangs. The venom is deadly and kills rapidly by inhibiting the nervous impulse and slowly by interfering the blood clotting factor and leading to destruction of the RBCs and leading to hemorrhage. It has been proved by Herring in the year 1830. This is a short introduction about Lachesis mutus. Details of that we'll see in the next slides. The word snake is derived from the old English word called snaka, S-N-A-C-A, which in fact derived from the old Indo-European word called nego, which means a crawl, which means a creep, something which crawls, something which creeps, which again derived from one more old Indian language, Sanskrit, called naga. Snakes have been called as a naga. Like that, the words are modified and modified and modified. Finally, they named it as snake, which has a meaning why they named snake, because something which crawls, something which creeps. They also call it as a serpent. Now we'll come back to our bushmaster snake. It's called a Surucucu snake. You can see a image. Highly colorful, very attractive, but highly poisonous. It is a greatest camouflage. It will change the color as per the need whenever attacking the prey. Snakes can be very small as 10.4 centimeter. Very small, you can imagine a small snake, 10.4 centimeter snakes called Barbados thread snake. Snakes can be as big as 6.95 meters. Pythons. Then we have many things bigger than that. Is called anaconda. So like that, there are varieties of snakes with varieties of size. It is always interesting to know why they name this snake as Lachesis. The snake is actually Surucucu, or the snake is called bushmaster. And why they named it as a Lachesis? For everything there is a story. Lachesis is one of the three fate as per the Greek mythology. You can see an image. There are three ladies you can see. One is Clotho, one is Lachesis, and Atropos. Their duty is to assign man's term of life, what all the good thing he has done, what all the bad thing he has done at the end of the life, and they'll say what he is going to become born as an animal or he is going to born as a human being, like that. That is the Greek mythology. So this Lachesis is a lady in that in the middle, what you can see. She will determine the length of the thread of life. Similarly, this species can definitely capable of doing that. No, highly poisonous. It will determine your life. Just like how the mythologically they determine your life, same thing. The snakes can also determine your life. That is the reason they named after uh, that Lachesis in the Greek mythology. They named it as a Lachesis. There are four species are there. We are not going to speak more about that. And now let us see Lachesis mutus. Why mutus? This snake, which resembles like our rattlesnake, okay, tail ends with a horny spine which sometimes vibrates like a rattlesnake, but it has no rattle in. That is the reason there is no rattle. That means it's a mute. It shakes the tail, it will vibrate, but there is no rattling because there is no rattle in that. That is the reason they called this snake as a mute rattlesnake. So now it is very clear. This is called Lachesis mutus. Lachesis because of the Greek mythology, and mute because it doesn't have a rattle. That is the reason this is called Lachesis mutus. There are around more than 20 families of snakes, around 520 genera, and 3600 species of snakes are found all over the world. Except in Antarctica, there you cannot see a snake, and some islands of New Zealand where the snakes are not there. In India, we have more than 270 species, out of which around 60 are highly poisonous snakes. Snake venoms are mainly three types. One is neurotoxins, something which acts on the central nervous system. Then you have got hemotoxins, something which acts on the blood. Then you have got myotoxins, which has got action on the muscles. Other drugs among the ophidians are Crotalus horridus, Crotalus cascavella, Naja tripudians, Alaps corallinus, Bothrops lanceolatus, Centuris contortrix, Hydrophis, Vipera, and Toxicophis. These are the other varieties of drugs which comes under the family ophidians. You can see a close-up image of this beautiful bushmaster Surucucu. As the name suggested, trigonocephalous. You can see the shape of the head, and very dark colored, brown colored, very aggressive snake, but highly poisonous. This is one of my favorite question in the Viva. I think all my students will definitely laugh now. I used to ask them how Herring got an idea of proving Lachesis and how he proved. This is the one question I asked a student. I used to get a fantastic answer from my students, and finally I used to ask them to open the book and I used to make them to read. Then they'll realize their mistakes. This is how it used to happen in the Viva. In 1827, Dr. C. Herring went to South America to conduct a biological research in experimenting with lachesis to find out a homeopathic inoculation for smallpox. So his idea is only to find out homeopathic inoculation for smallpox by using lachesis venom. His intention was not to prove lachesis venom during that time. So he was searching for the Surucucu snake, and people in the villages are all were so scared because of the snakes. And finally Dr. Herring made an announcement that he'll give a good reward if anyone bring and give me a live Surucucu snake. At last one was brought in a bamboo box, and those who were brought it immediately ran away. All his natives, servants who were around that area all ran away. Only Herring and his wife were there. Dr. C. Herring stunned the snake with a blow on the head as the box opened. Then, holding its head in a forked stick, he pressed its venom out of the poison bag upon a sugar of milk. This is the first incident how Dr. C. Herring got the Lachesis snake and how he extracted the venom for homeopathic proving. His idea of collecting Lachesis venom mainly for homeopathic inoculation for smallpox, but he accidentally poisoned himself with a small amount of venom. This led him to prove Lachesis as an homeopathic remedy. The curious scientist Herring later accidentally paralyzed his right side by continuing to test higher and higher doses of Lachesis on himself. The first trituration and first dilution in alcohol of the snake poison Lachesis was made by Herring in July 28, 1828. The first case were published in the Archives in 1835. In the year 1837, this remedy was introduced to our Metromedica. If you see in Herring's Guiding Symptom, volume 6, where described Lachesis, it occupies nearly 100 pages. You can see the extensive proving of Lachesis MUTUS. We all know that Dr. Samuel Hahnemann is a father of homeopathy, but every time we quote Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, but very less important was given to a great homeopath like Dr. C. Herring. He is not like other provers. He is proved the something which others cannot prove. That means he had that dareness, he had that boldness to prove the things like apis. During that time, people are so scared of honeybee. He has consumed himself and proved honeybee, and we have a lot of symptoms of honeybee. We have mad dogs, rabies. From there, the medicine is prepared. That is a lysine, hydrophobinum. Even not only lachesis, he also proved crotalus. He also proved cantharis. He also proved acids. People are so scared of acids. Acids like fluoric acid, phosphoric acid. Not only that, in the olden times, the deceased subjects, like for example, no source, disease products. The Herring is the one who has gone forward and proved the remedies. Glonine, which is the remedy, has been used in the management of heart disease in the modern system. Same thing is taken in the earlier stage and is proved a medicine for various headaches. So like that, Herring's contribution in the field of homeopathy are like a hero. He is like a hero. He is like something which others cannot do, something which is highly dangerous. He has had that guts, he had that boldness to go forward and prove to the homeopathic world. He proved nearly 72 drugs, and Herring's law of cure is very famous even now. Lachesis mainly acts on the mind, it acts on the central nervous system, it has got action on the blood, circulations, blood vessels, it has got action on the heart, throat, it has got action on the female reproductive organs, it has got action on the vertex, especially left-sided affinity, and it has got action on the skin mucous membranes. Lachesis is mainly adapted to the person who are more thinner and emaciated than the fat people. It acts better in the thin people and emaciated people than the fat persons. Opposite of calcarea carb, opposite of graphitis, opposite of thuja. It's also adapted to those who have been changed both mentally and physically by their illness. Especially adapted to the females during climatic disturbances. They have all the problems attributed to menopause. Females or the persons who are warm-blooded who cannot tolerate sun rays. Lachesis also suited to the persons who are melancholic temperament, dark eyes, and disposed to low spirit and indolence. Women who are choleric temperament with freckles and red hair. Lachesis also adapted to the children who have got early sexual development. The child who always holds the genitals. Early sexual development in children. That is the one insight for us to think about. The person can be a Lachesis. These are the main adaptability of Lachesis. Thermally, Lachesis is in a hot patient. Miasmatically, predominantly a syphilitic miasmatic background you can see in Lachesis. Let's see the keynote indications of Lachesis. Lachesis has got so many keynote symptoms. I don't know which one to omit and which one to say. Every symptom is so important in our practice. The first we'll see. Uh, First keynote is climacteric elements, menopausal complaints. During the time of menopause, during the time of climacteric, a lady will have a lot of other complaints like hemorrhoids, hemorrhages, hot flushes and hot perspiration, burnings in the vertex, headache, especially during the time of menopause. Otherwise they are fine. When they are approaching menopause, they have got so many complaints, which we said hemorrhoids, hemorrhage, hot flushes, hot perspiration, everything H. Other remedies like sanguinaria, sulfur. Women who have not recovered from the change of life have never felt well since the time of menopause. We have just opposite of that, never been well since the time of puberty is pulsatilla. That is the first indication. Climacteric elements, we have other drugs also, glonine. Second indication is a left-sided complaints. Almost all complaints which are predominantly left-sided or starts in the left and goes to the right-sided. Disease begins on the left side and go to the right side. Left ovary, left testicles, left side of the chest. Opposite of that, that is on the right and go to the left, is lycopodium. We have many other drugs, left-sided complaints like Lilium tigrinum, Thuja, Spigelia, Colocynth. These are the few examples of complaints which are predominantly left-sided. The third indications, these symptoms definitely, whenever the patient speaks about these symptoms, everyone's mind Lachesis will flash. Intolerance of tight clothes. Person cannot tolerate anything tight around the neck, around the chest, around the waist. Person is always wearing a loose shirt. The lady who always wears a light or loose dresses, especially around the neck. A person cannot wear tie. A lady cannot wear tight ornaments around the neck. We have other remedies. Person who cannot wear anything tight, bovista, calcareacab, sulfur, sepia. Sensitive to touch, especially at the throat, stomach, abdomen, cannot even bear the bedclothes or the night dress to touching them, especially at the throat and abdomen. So you can imagine a person who cannot tolerate even the bed sheets, who cannot tolerate the bedclothes or any night dresses to touching them. So they always feel better when the dresses are loose and hanging. It is not because of tenderness or soreness like we have in drugs like Epis, Belladonna, Hepaself. They cannot bear tight clothes around the neck because it is sensitive at the region, mainly because of their tenderness. More of inflammatory like Epis, Belladonna, Hepaself. They cannot bear anything around tight because of soreness. Here the person is cannot wear tight clothing because they are very sensitive. Tight clothes causes uneasiness. Tight clothes makes her nervous. So always compare Bovista, calcareacab, sulfur, sepia. That is mainly because of sensitiveness. Now because of soreness, we have Epis and Belladonna and Epasol. So always a person who tells you that doctor, I cannot bear anything tight around the neck, throat. And many times this is my leading question. After finishing everything, when I'm sure that this person may be of Lachesis, I'll try to confirm by asking last at the end, not in the beginning. Everything is over. At the end, I'll ask one leading question about this. This will make me to differentiate, and this will make me to go for Lachesis. I'm sure you will never forget any person who talks so much, excessive talking. You will never forget Lachesis. So the fourth indication is loquacity. Person wants to talk all the time. Person jumps from one idea to another. One word often leads to a big story. There is no head and tail. Person jumps from one topic to another topic. They got mentally excitability, ecstasy with almost prophetic perceptions, with a vivid imaginations. So person is always talking. Whenever someone talks and whoever person comes and talk to me so much, then what I will do is I will ask them to open the mouth. Whenever I am sure that is Lachesis people are very difficult to stop when they come because we have to finish the case fast. We have so many other patients are waiting. If at all Lachesis patient is there in front of you, he or she speaks so much, you can do one thing. Open the mouth. Ask them to open the mouth. They'll stop. That is my trick. So you can have your own trick. So for the loquacity, we have drugs like agaricus, cicuta, hyoscyamus, and stramonium. The fifth key indication for Lachesis, she always feels better during menses. Once the menses appears, almost all complaints are better. But menses is always at regular time. It is too short, very scanty, feeble. All the pains and all the discomfort, even the mental complaints are relieved by the flow, which is very similar to zincum and allium cephal. Better by menses is a leading indication of Lachesis. It is not only menses, better by discharges. Sixth key indication of Lachesis comes about the hemorrhagic tendency. We have got many drugs for hemorrhagic tendency. We have got some drugs for bright red hemorrhage. We have got some drug for dark red hemorrhage. Here the hemorrhage is a dark red, a small wound which bleeds easily and profusely. Blood is very dark and non-coagulable, like crotalus, like sickle, like carbovage. We have bright red bleeding like phosphorus, aconite, millefolium. That's how you can differentiate about the hemorrhagic tendency of Lachesis. The seventh keynote indication of Lachesis mutus. Liquids are more painful to swallow than solids. Person can swallow solids better, but liquids are more painful and liquids are more difficult to swallow. Like belladonna, bryonia, ignatia, especially when associated with tonsillitis, The pain begins from the left side of the throat and extends to the right side, like lacanine and sabadilla. The throat looks very dark, purple appearance, like nausea, generally aggravation by hot drinks. Lachesis individuals are generally prostrated. Their prostration is out of proportion to their complaints. The eighth key indication of lachesis is burning. We have many drugs for burning. We have arsenical, we have sulfur, we have phosphorus, we have acids. Like that, lists are many. Sickle core, medorinum. Here, mainly burning of hands and feet. Always wants to uncover the hand and feet and always wants to be fanned, but very slowly and at a distance. There are three components: burning, wants to be uncovered, and wants to be fanned, but at a distance and at a slow speed. Opposite of that is a person has got burning, wants to be fanned very rapidly. That is a carbavage. We have other drugs for the burning wants to be fanned. We have antimonium tart, we have got apis mellifica, carbavage, china, ferrum, medorinum, sanguinaria, sanicula, and sulfur. The ninth indication of lachesis, we know the snakes are nocturnal reptiles, especially a poisonous snakes always comes out to catch a prey at night. Here the night is aggravation, all the symptoms, especially of mental origin, worse after sleep, or the aggravation wakes him from the sleep, or sleeps into aggravations like spongia, apis, opium, stramonium. They are totally unhappy, disturbed and distressed and anxious, and they are sad at approaching evening and night. The tenth indication, many of the complaints occur as a result of long lasting grief. Very often grief means we think ignitia, natramure, phosphoric acid, pulsatilla. Even lachesis is also an important remedy. They get a complaint from the grief, from the sorrow, from the fright, from the vexation, from the jealous, from the disappointed love. We got remedies like aurum, phosphoric acid, natramure, ignitia. We can differentiate at the end. The 11th point for lachesis is an excellent remedy for apoplexy. People who have tendency for stroke, people who already had a paralyzed, especially of left-sided paralysis as a result of high blood pressure and there's a rupture and hemorrhage in the brain. We can think of lachesis as an excellent remedy in higher potency. Especially of drunkards with congestive headaches or tendency for apoplexy with hemorrhoids who are prone to get erysipelas, especially of the left-sided, when you can think of lachesis. Lachesis is also an important remedy for headache when there is a sudden rush of blood to the head, like bell, like sanguinaria, like mellilotus, headache after alcohol, headache after mental emotion, headache from suppressed eruptions, suppressed discharge, headache from irregular menses, headache during the time of menopause. All these are the key indication of lachesis in the management of headache. The 13th point is well proved in my practice. I have given in many patients, especially in the management of hemorrhoids. For the hemorrhoids, you have got many drugs like sulfur, naxomica, hemamelis, nitric acids, Elos, Asculus. There are many drugs, but characteristic of lachesis comes they are very sensitive. The piles which protrudes are sensitive. You might have given naxomica, you might have given sulfur. The pains are better, the swellings are better, but there is a growth remains. The lachesis can always, most of the time, remove that growth. Piles with scanty menses, piles during menopause, the piles are strangulated with stitching and shooting pain, and your lachesis can very effective to remove the bulge at the anus region. Lachesis has a tendency for malignancy, maybe of boils, maybe of carbuncles or ulcers, which have the tendency to go towards the malignancy, or malignant pustules or decubitus with a dark bluish purple color appearance of the skin. You should always think one of the remedies Lachesis. Any ulcers or any boils which has a tendency towards a malignancy, a syphilitic miasmatic expressions. The 15th key indication of Lachesis is a remedy for epilepsy, especially comes during sleep like before, especially after loss of vital fluids, especially after masturbation, especially after a jealousy. 16th point of our indication of Lachesis, it is well proved and very effective, is petechia, purpura or hemorrhagic spots, ecchymosis, purple or black spots, bluish patches, wherever, especially after menopause. The 17th point is a religious insanity. Person who's too much talking and finally become praying and finally behave like insanity. Thinks herself that she's under some superhuman control. She can curse, she can swear, anything. That is the indication of Lachesis. 18th point, as soon as he falls asleep, the breathing stops. Must awake to get the breath. So night is aggravation, breathlessness when person going to sleep. We have remedies like ammonium carb, grandelia, lacaninum and opium. I think keynotes are never ending, but cannot live also because all are important. The 19th key indication, sensation as if a ball rolling from the bladder, ball rolling sensation in the throat, ball rolling sensation in the abdomen. We have to compare many other drugs. Has got a globus hystericus, Abies nigra, raphanus, asafoetida. The 20th point of Lachesis is a perspiration which stains the cloth yellow, and perspiration is highly offensive. Perspiration sometimes bloody. Perspirations are cold. Bloody perspiration you have to compare lycopodium. Perspiration stains yellow you have to compare magnesium group, you have to compare mercurius group. Perspirations are cold, you have to compare veratrum group. The 21st indication of Lachesis is the tongue. Person is constantly protruding and retracting the tongue like a snake. There's a key indication. Sometime when the patient comes inside, we just observe what all their body language is. You can always think a person who's always protruding the tongue outside the mouth. Your choice of remedy probably Lachesis. It may help you to differentiate. We have one more drug, cupromat. The discharges are highly offensive. Like again mercurius, like again sanicula, sepia, pyrogen. The discharges are highly offensive, like silesia. 23rd point, jealous. Whenever the person's life history you find the jealous trait, we must differentiate other drug also, Apis, Naxomica, Iosymus and Staphysagrina. They are prone to have jealous in their basic nature and they get affected all things because of jealous, and the person will be sometimes revengeful because of this jealous. Person's behavior will change because of jealous and possessiveness. 24th point, a person cannot bear the heat of the sun. Sunlight is aggravation. You might have seen many of the snakes, it doesn't come out in the sun. The snakes are always hiding in a hole. Snakes are always hiding in a shade. Similarly, the person who cannot bear sunlight. We have many drugs, antimcrude, nitramure, nitram carb, glonine, belladonna. Next indication, vertigo on closing the eyes. We have other drugs, Theridion, Tuja. Next indication, sensation as if heart is suspended by a thread. We have a drug, Calicab. We also see these symptoms in petroleum. We'll see what are the etiological factors for a Lachesis personality to get the complaints. So element from injuries like arnica, element from punctured wounds like ledum, element from poisoned wound like epis, ledum, element from grief like ignatia, natramur, phosphoric acid, element from sorrow like natramur, element from vexations like ignatia, lycopodium, bryonia, element from anger like ignatia, naxomica, lycopodium, element from fright like aconite, opium, element from jealousy like apis mellifica, like Staphysagrия, like Stramonium, element from disappointed love, like Ignatia, Netramur, element from alcohol, like sulfuric acid, like Naxomica, element from suppressed menses, like Zinca metallicum, element from climacteric, element from loss of vital fluids, like China, like Carbovage, element from masturbations, element from malaria, element from quinine, element from typhoid, element from diphtheria, element from sprain, element from apoplexy, elements also from exposure to sunlight, element from warm weather, elements also from draught of air. These are the various causative factors for Lachesis to manifest various complaints. We'll see general aggravation and amelioration, aggravation by heat, aggravation by spring, summer, sunlight, aggravation after sleep, aggravation warmth of the bed, aggravation hot drinks, aggravation swallowing, aggravation closing the eyes, aggravation touch, aggravation pressure, aggravation also by tight clothings, amelioration by open air, amelioration by bathing the part, amelioration by appearance of discharges, amelioration by cold drinks, and amelioration by menses. This is all about general aggravation and amelioration of Lachesis. Some more interesting personalities of Lachesis will be continued in part 2 of the video.